Santa here. You know, the true spirit of Christmas is giving, and my friend Danny McGee knows that very well. His annual toy run with the Agape Projects helps bring joy to children who need it most. But to reach this year's $80,000 goal, we need everyone's help. So grab your cocoa, hop online, and make your donation at theagapeprojects.org. Together, let's fill hearts and stockings with love. Hey everyone, it's Rich Bennett. Can you believe it? The show is turning 10 this year. I am so grateful for each and every one of you who've tuned in, shared an episode, or even joined the conversation over the years. You're the reason that this podcast has grown into what it is today. Together, we've shared laughs, tears, and moments that truly matter. So I want to thank you for being part of this journey. Let's make the next 10 years even better.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Harford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch transfer.
It's probably the least sexy part of the work, and I don't know the answer. That's okay. No. The truth is...
Have you ever done all the work, read the books, went to therapy, followed the plan, and still felt stuck? So in this episode of Conversations with Rich Bennett, we're going to meet someone who's been there and found her way through. Cheryl Stelte is more than a spiritual coach and healer. She's a woman who walked through reinvention, heartbreak, and awakening to find a life that truly fits her soul. From building design businesses to living with indigenous tribes to a moment of divine connection on a quiet beach that changed everything, Cheryl's story is one of deep transformation and purpose. We'll talk about what really keeps high-achieving women stuck, even when everything looks successful on the outside. We'll dig into people-pleasing, overgiving, and the powerful moment you stop living by someone else's timeline. And you'll hear the incredible spiritual movement that launched her into healing work, one that proves even loss can lead to light. So this isn't just an episode. It's an invitation to ask, what are you still carrying? And what might happen if you finally let it go? So how you doing, Cheryl?
I am so well, and I am so happy to be here with you, Rich. Loved our earlier conversations, and so great to connect. And my goal is to really contribute to your mission here. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. And for some reason, I'm getting this feeling that you're going to be on several times more. I don't know why. I just had that vision that you're going to be on not just once more, but several times more.
Thank you. That would truly be.
I don't know why, but well, we're going to find out. All right. So let's start with a moment that changed everything for you. A beach on Vancouver Island, your brother's spirit, and an undeniable experience of divine connection. Can you walk us through that moment?
Yes. You know, I was in a hard place in my life, recently divorced from an abusive chronic alcoholic after 30 years. And so found myself as a single mother with 2 children and was severely depressed. That was when being diagnosed with depression was just becoming the in thing, over 30 years ago. And so a friend of mine, we're waiting to pick oysters on Vancouver Island, waiting for the tide to go out. So she said, how about if I practice kinesiology on you? And because she was learning that. And so I'm laying on the beach and she's doing all this and doing this finger muscle testing and saying, it's a person, and she's helping me with releases. And all of a sudden, as I'm laying there, this huge ball of bright white light is hovering above me. And I knew immediately it was my deceased brother who had taken his life. And it was just radiating so much love. I've never felt anything like it since. It was incredible. Now, spirituality, woo, meditation, none of that was a part of my world whatsoever. Right. And so she's going along doing her thing and she's talking so fast I couldn't interrupt her. And then she said, "It's your brother." And she said, "Oh my God, he's here." And
Wow.
I know. And she ended up channeling him, and she'd never channeled anybody, or you could call it mediumship. She'd never, ever done anything like that, but she could hear him. And his message to me was to start meditating. And that's what changed my life, completely took a turn. And I haven't stopped since. I got off the antidepressants within a few months of starting to meditate, never went back. And that's how it all began.
So I guess you really didn't see yourself as a healer back then.
Not a chance. As a matter of fact, even when I started healing myself through a particular style of meditation that I developed unknowingly,
Mm-hmm.
teaching myself how to access the subconscious, I never wanted to work with people. I had friends, I loved hanging out with psychologists and therapists, and I had these friends who really did amazing things to help other people, and I always thought, "Oh, I don't know how you do that. I could never
Right.
work with people. It's enough to help
Uh-huh.
myself. I could never do it with other people." And now it's absolutely what gives me the most joy in life next to my grandchild. It's so fulfilling. So yeah, I not only could imagine I was in 100% resistance.
Well, and before this path opened up, you had a successful career in fashion and interior design, right?
Yes, I had the successful career in fashion design for a while, but it was before the interior design started. And
Okay.
happened on my healing journey, I came to realize that part of my soul's journey was to study interior design. And so I quit my job, I went back to school. The bank gave me all this financing, not just for the tuition, money to live on, but they financed my loan payments for while I was in school. I'm like, "Are you
Wow.
serious?" With no collateral. I said, "How can you do that?" I was a single mom. And they said, "Well, because you have a great credit rating, and we realize that when people invest in themselves, that they end up making more money and you're gonna come back and invest your money, etcetera." I'm like, "Are you serious?" "Okay, I'm going." And I melded my spirituality with my interior design business. And when we were studying marketing, I decided that my tagline, it was gonna be Stelte Design, designing for the soul. And it was going to be a spiritual interior design business. And my instructor said, "No, Cheryl, you've got to change that. You're ruling out 80% of your market." And the niche or niche, as Americans say, was not so much a thing back then. You wanted to
Yeah.
open yourself to everybody. And she said, "You're ruling out 80% of your market. You're only going to get 20% of the clients that you could." I said, "I don't care. Those are the people I want to work with."
Right.
That's it. And if someone finds me and they're not that spiritual, it's okay. But I'm putting that on my sign. And I ended up, I had one interview scheduled. I'm fresh out of school. Who starts a business? Usually you get
Mhm.
experience, right? But I had a lot of life experience. I worked in the renovation industry for a very long time, etc. And
Wow.
and so I went for one interview, and the owner of the company was 35 minutes late. I sat outside. They didn't even have a place for me to sit in the office for the interview. So I went out and waited in my car. She came 35 minutes late, and I just thought, "No, you're not my person. I don't want to work here." It was the one place I wanted to work because they did feng shui. So I thought, "That's it. I'm going on my own. I don't know what this looks like. I'm going to figure it out." And I hung a shingle. And that was it, and things came to me, and I meditated, and I manifested, and the business grew and grew, and I practiced my spiritual work through the business. I helped so many people heal and become empowered, so many women through interior design.
Well, and I want to talk about that too, because you work with high achieving women who feel stuck.
Yes.
So even after years of therapy, books, and personal growth, why do you think success doesn't always translate to fulfillment?
Well, what I see and what even happened to me in my interior design business is our businesses or our careers. So
Mhm.
both apply. And this applies to men and women. It's just that it's primarily women that find me. We grow through our business.
Right.
Rich, you're growing through your podcast. I think you recognize that. You said you love to learn.
Oh, yeah.
So we grow and grow and grow through our businesses, our careers, and it'll always happen. We reach a plateau. We reach a fulfillment threshold. So it even happened in my interior design business. Oh, I was so passionate about it for so long, and I was becoming more and more successful. And then what happens? It's like you're doing all the work, but the fulfillment is now flat. What happened? And and I remember I hired a coach to help me through this. I'm like, this just isn't doing it for me anymore. I don't get the same, it's the fulfillment that drives
Right.
usually, often. I mean, there's all sorts of wounds that drive us as well. But what happens is energetically and spiritually, we're moving more into our light. You become more radiant. You discover your superpowers through the work that you're doing. Rich,
True, yeah.
you're discovering more about yourself through your podcast. So as we become more successful, we're all here to continuously learn and grow, period.
Right.
And so we step more into our light. And I see this all the time in the chakra readings that I do. And then that light shines on the darkness. It starts to shine on those subconscious blocks, the wounds and the traumas that started in early childhood that are popping up to be healed so you can grow to the next level. And what happens is people become masters. You all become masters of at a at a certain level in the work you do. And then it's about unlearning your old ways and
Mhm.
developing something so much greater. It's such a major shift, and it's part of our development. So what happens is most people just try to keep doing the same thing, or they'll find something new and they become a master or an expert very quickly, but the fulfillment doesn't last because they're in a certain level of spiritual growth that you cannot push through. So talk
Right.
therapy, a lot of healing, all the things, the self-help, even meditation, nothing works like it used to. Nothing at all. And you can create that new thing, but it's the fulfillment. So what
Mhm.
I do is I can see that. When I do a chakra reading, I can see in anybody when they're going through that. And so what happens is in a very short period of time, I work with people one-on-one. Sure, you make more money doing groups, but I'm in this for the fulfillment, folks.
Right.
And we work one-on-one for a short period of time. We do it intensely. I love to go deep, and we uncover those subconscious blocks that are getting in your way so you can move forward in a whole new way. You gain the clarity, you release what's getting in the way, and you're moving forward and you become the person you couldn't imagine. Because when we try and imagine where we want to get to next, we're coming from that place of those wounds included. Those
Right.
conscious blocks are a part of our goal setting or our imagining. So when I help release those, it's like, whoa, you discover more of your true self, and your inner knowing just leads you to something often very different.
Wow. With the subconscious blocks, what are some, I guess, like sneaky or hidden ones that keep people stuck in cycles of overgiving or even playing small?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. That's very direct. And some of the things that keep people overgiving, playing small, and that sort of thing, and it's really getting away, is it often starts in the womb. It often starts in infancy. And so we eventually go back there. So what happens is you look at humanity as a whole, all of our conditioning, especially between men and women, and our emotional intelligence. So, I think we're pretty close in age. And earlier in our lives, did our parents have the wherewithal to be the great emotional resources for us that we needed?
Right.
It didn't happen. And
No.
they didn't get it either. And so the wounds kind of accumulate generationally. And science has proven that trauma is imprinted in the right side of the brain, in the subconscious, through physical sensations and emotions. And those emotions are emotions that were never expressed, that were held in. And then it's the subconscious beliefs that are formed from those repressed emotions. And then it's the patterns that develop because of that. So
Right.
those are, we can work through certain levels through therapy, but we can't, it's so hard to get to the early programming that started even in the womb. And science,
Yeah.
I've done a fair bit of research in the womb, and it's really, that's when the oxytocin first begins, the bonding hormone that we all need. And so many of us don't really get it. I remember hearing a fellow once say that, this sort of idealistic view of a fetus growing in the mother's womb, and that it's all this unconditional love, joy, and that's BS. Do not tell me that that's true for everybody. And I would say most of us, the fetus feels the mother's anxiety. If that mother has any addiction issues, and we've talked about,
Oh, yes.
holy smokes, does that harm a fetus, even if she's not using? It's the mental, it's the emotional addiction, those patterns, and the lack of a healthy relationship with the father, or it's often those unwanted babies. Hello, I was one of those. The unwanted, the unplanned babies, how that affects the fetus. And, and I could go on and on. So what happens is the fetus, the baby, the infant, the toddler forms these subconscious beliefs that we don't even know exists.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to deal with things. And so they make stuff up. And it will always affect us later in life. I don't work with young people anymore because they're not in enough pain. They're not desperate enough. I want those ones who are willing to go deep and do the work. They've tried everything. And I have so many clients who've, done the personal work for 40 years plus, and they say, wow, Cheryl, nobody goes as deep as you, but they get the results. They get big results, and the world starts to open up, and they become their unimaginable selves.
I'm glad you mentioned the part about the womb, because for the longest time, I've always believed, until you mentioned it, about, if somebody's going through addiction, the baby's feeling that and everything, they can feel the anxiety, while they're a fetus. If somebody had mentioned before, well, when that baby's born, that's a very traumatic experience for a baby coming out of the womb. But then again, with the way you just explained it, that may be a relief for that baby coming out of the womb, because it could be experienced so many bad things as a fetus.
That's an interesting perception, and it could be, but they're still coming out with all those wounds. So
Right.
I'll just talk about my client Ginny. Her mother was a heroin addict. Dad had all his own issues, and she's had to do some really deep healing. And this woman, I'm telling you, you're talking about people pleasing. 100% people pleaser, because she didn't get that oxytocin. And so Gabor Mate talks so much about the lack of attachment with the mother. when the baby has that lack of attachment, we're innately we're designed to receive love. And when we don't have it, it's like we have to figure out a way. So when a mother with addiction issues of any sort, she doesn't have the capacity to love freely. She's just in so much pain. And it's not her fault. I mean, what are you going to do? And so that little fetus like Ginny came out and believed that she had to serve everybody else. And it was just when we started to touch into this, she could see throughout her life how she's known as the strong one, completely dependable. If you have a problem, you go to Ginny. Those are the people. And so those strong women, they become successful. They take care of everything. They take care of everybody else. But their lack of receptivity is what really shows. And when I was speaking about getting to that next level, that part of the unlearning is you must learn to receive well. And I can see that energetically immediately. So many women are conditioned to give. Because of this lack of attachment to the mother, they didn't develop that receiving that unconditional love. It wasn't there. It didn't happen. And with Ginny, we were able to undo that. And this is kind of a cool story, a result of that. Ginny had a very successful travel business, multi-million-dollar, big business. And she was very successful. She was fried. She was exhausted. She was so burnt out and hated her business. So sure, she made a lot of money, but there was no passion left in that business at all. And through working with me, she ended up dropping the business. She closed the business and discovered that she was actually a spiritual leader. Now, she had never even meditated, or very little. She never had a meditation practice. And it was, whoa, okay. And she ended up becoming a speaker coach, and she was in business with another person, and they were putting on these retreats, and she invited me, and I went to this one. It was the second one I went to, and there were over 70 women there. And I can't tell you the tears rolling down my face when Ginny was up on stage leading us all in meditation and leading us later to do partner practices with no training, strictly on the work we had done together. Now, by that point, she had done a retreat with me, so she knew what that was like, and she had done my advanced program, etc. But she was meant to do that, and so she learned how to let the energy flow through her, and she taught a practice that I gave to her early on. She taught it to everybody because so many women suffer from this. We have been conditioned to give and give and give and give.
Right.
Put yours last. And so the practice goes like this. This is how you develop greater receptivity. You put your hand on your heart chakra, put your hand right there so you really feel it. When somebody says something nice to you, gives you a compliment, or does a favor for you, whatever it is, often those women will say, oh yeah, it was nothing, the compliment. Oh, thank you. They brush it off. So you say, put your hand on your heart chakra and say, thank you. I received that. Let me breathe that in. And then you inhale the compliment, you inhale the kindness, you inhale the love if it's from a loved one, and you even close your eyes and bring it into your body and see what that feels like to receive. And it starts a new pattern. And especially if you breathe fully, and we're going to get into how to access your subconscious, I believe, in this conversation. And it changed her. And I couldn't believe it. Here she was later sharing this practice, and it became a part of the culture in that group. So we would talk and someone would say, oh gosh, I love how your hair looks today. It's awesome. And the woman would respond, thank you. I received that. Let me breathe that in.
People don't understand the different, well, we're going to get into that, but people don't understand these little things that you talk about right there from the retreat can make you feel so much better. And it just, well, you're aligning yourself with positivity. You're keeping all that positivity in. And I hope I pronounced this right, because you developed your own energy healing system. Was it Azarius?
You got it.
All right. Azarius Energy Healing. So what makes it different, and how does it help people release blocks at the soul level?
The main thing that makes it so different is I teach people how to help others heal at the deepest levels. It's so different, and it's not about doing the healing yourself. So even when I do chakra readings, practicing the Azarius, when I'm teaching it, it is multiple spirits moving through me. It's developing the capacity to fully open up. And so what happens is it helps the other person heal at the greatest level. And it's like being in the flow of that. So the practitioner doesn't have to have all the answers. The healing does not happen from the level of the mind. It's sort of like I really am in meditation when I'm doing it, and I teach others how to do that and allow spirit to move through me to do the healing. And then I'm guided so differently. I don't have to have all the answers. It's that opening up and allowing, and it's not like it's linear. You have to keep going into it. You have to keep going into it. And so what happens, the person who's being healed gets exactly what they need, because their problem, they set the intention, and that's what pulls the energy through me. And so we can always start with any problem today, anything at all. Say somebody's upset them, it will always go back to early childhood. So our anger and all of our frustration and everything with life, usually, at the later stages of life or even midlife, whatever, have nothing to do with what's happening currently. Our response comes from this earlier conditioning. And then we're able to go back into the subconscious and go back to being 3 years old, 2 years old, immediately at birth, in the womb, even at the moment of conception.
Oh, wow. Wow. I don't know if I want to go back that far for the moment of conception. I don't know about that.
Well, it's actually,
I don't want to picture my parents like that.
no, you don't have to picture your parents. People don't. People
I
don't.
know.
It's actually, I believe the soul chooses the parents, chooses those people who are going to mess us up just the way we need to be messed up, so that we can grow through those challenges. So the moment of inception is actually fascinating, because you're just so in spirit, and your inner knowing is so high level at that time. And then things start to shift after that.
Okay, so with the Azarius, I ran at lips here. With the Azarius program, is that virtual or is that in person?
All virtual.
All virtual.
Yeah, all the healing I do is virtual. It's what I teach. Because, Rich, everything is connected. As a matter of fact, we're all one. We're part of the same grid. We're all part of the same universe. We are one soul, one fabric, and we are all, the separation is an illusion, except that we're all unique aspects of that one.
Okay. Well, wait a minute though. But the breakthrough retreat's not virtual, is it?
No. That's
okay.
In person. We get together in person. I cook, and I love to cook. Oh yeah, and I cook for everybody. There are smaller retreats. I'll take up to 7 women, and I cook for everybody, and I love it. And because I want to put the theme of the retreat, the energy, into the food, because it helps with the receptivity. So I want them to receive, and they feel so loved. And I've been asked now, would you please create a cookbook? And I just think, man, the food is not that great. You're just feeling the love. You're on retreat. And so it's about learning to receive in multiple ways. I mean, there's more to it than just that. But
Sure. When are you going to start doing this for men?
Hey, men can come too. You want to come? We'll do
Oh, okay.
one for men.
Because when you said, you sold me at the cooking part. You mentioned it, so I have to ask you this. What is your favorite dish to cook?
Oh, that's a tough question because I cook so much. Um, I like to make some things ahead of time, super healthy. It's all organic. There's very no gluten. I'm gluten intolerant. So I will buy, a loaf of bread for those that want their gluten, but that's kind of about it. Oh, it just changes,
All right, I'm going to make it easier for you then. If you really want to impress somebody for the first time, what are you going to make for them?
I don't know. I can't answer that question because people are different and
Well, that is true.
what's
Yeah.
required. So it's kind of like this. I live a lot of my life in trust. And
Mhm.
and one of the things I have to say, doing the breakthrough retreats is in some ways sort of the gem of what I do because we're immersed in this spiritual container and we're on retreat 24/7. And it is just spirit flowing through me the whole time. So when I cook, I procrastinate in making my grocery shopping list. I usually fly out somewhere. I rent a giant house and with all these bedrooms and bathrooms and everything, and with multiple areas outside, etc. And it has to be a beautiful place in nature. And then I go to do my grocery shopping, and so I'm usually making the list a couple days before and I kind of finish it up on the plane. And then often I can't find what I need. And I just go and get the food and I'll try and pre-plan certain meals. Okay, so
Right.
that figured out. But I never stick to it because it's not always the right thing.
Mhm.
And it might be like at the last retreat, I remember I cooked a Thai dish that was a real hit, and it was hilarious because, people want the recipe. I'm like, "I don't know." So I don't know. And I never planned on making my homemade Caesar salad from scratch with my own dressing, and that was a hit, and I kinda know what I put in there, but I don't measure stuff, and,
I'm the same way.
yeah, it's sort of a free flow, and then I may be attracted in the grocery store to buy certain vegetables or a type of meat.
Mhm.
I don't do this vegetarian unless if people are vegetarian, the hardest thing for me is if someone doesn't eat onions. It's like, whoa, I had one retreat and doesn't eat onions, and so I had to make everything because I like onions and I put onions. I mean, we kind of put onions in everything. So,
Yeah.
but it really is a flow. Like, I have some favorites. There's a German recipe called Rouladen, but we wouldn't eat beef on a retreat. It might be something I would serve people at dinner. I make a killer lamb roast, and I really like that with sweet potatoes and that sort of
Oh.
thing. Um, but we do eat chicken and fish. I like to make, I think at the last one I made a ginger garlic fish.
Ooh.
So just, I don't know. And we have eggs for breakfast every morning with all kinds of different things.
You're listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. We'll be right back.
The Harford County Health Department can help eligible pregnant women and children with low to average incomes get free health insurance through the Maryland Children's Health Program. Call 410-877-1040. That's 410-877-1040.
The retreat's not at the same place every time? It's at different places?
Yeah, it depends where everybody lives. So the last
Oh.
retreat was it was south of Chicago. I can't even remember the place, but it was on this big, beautiful lake. Because I had 2 clients in Chicago, one in Minnesota, um, one in Texas. So the location was central
Right.
activity. I try and make it easy. I've had them in Texas. It depends where everybody lives, and then I just, hop on Airbnb or whatever and VRBO, and you can find mansions, you can find big houses. It's not that hard, but
Yeah.
everybody gets their own bedroom. often with a shared bathroom with one other person. Sometimes you get a private bathroom, but you really need your own space. And there's multiple places to meditate. There's usually like a living room and a family room. Some of the homes have had giant theaters. It's a great place to do the surrender practice.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So usually I wait till the end, but I want people to know now. How do people become a client so they can end up getting a retreat out here in Maryland?
Okay. So you can go to my website, starofdivinelight.com. That's the best place to find me. There's some good resources on there, starofdivinelight.com. You can find me. I'm just getting on LinkedIn, but you can find me on Instagram, and my name there is stelt.cheryl. So stelt.cheryl on Instagram. And, you can Google search me. But Star of Divine Light will give you, there's a lot of resources,
right,
and information.
I want to get back to chakras here. So in your Shining Throat Chakra program, every time I say chakra, I for some reason, I keep getting the song in my head, Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan. I don't know why. But in your Shining Throat Chakra program, you focus specifically on helping women find and use their voice. Why is the throat chakra so often blocked?
Oh, such a good question. I wrote that book because, and part of me had resistance to writing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm used to resistance. I know myself to resist anything that's really good for me because my blocks come up. So, we can all find that. But what I noticed was that all my clients over the years had throat chakra issues. I was like, wow. And I had worked diligently directly on my throat chakra years ago for about 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what I eventually discovered is that all our throat chakra issues start in the root chakra. It's that early conditioning that started early on. And so the wounds, you think of this chakra system, the energy runs up and down the spine. You can think of the Ida, Pingala, the Shushumna. And so we receive energy from the cosmos, from the universe, from source, through the crown chakra. It goes down into the root chakra. And yes, there's chakras below, but that energy then goes back up. And so what happens is we get this early wounding, and it all starts in the root chakra. And so what happens, that wounded energy, those blocks, that stagnant energy, and I see it when I do chakra readings, I don't see the lotus flowers with all the petals and the mandalas and the colors. I see them as light. They're
The auras, right.
Energy centers. I see light, and I see where your blocks are, and they're black. They're dark, and I can tune into what each one of them are about. So that wounding starts in the root chakra, and it grows and grows and grows. It's kind of like a snowball. It develops, and then that energy runs up to each of the chakras. And what happens with the throat is a bottleneck. Look at our physical bodies.
Yeah.
The body is kind of the same size, from the hips up to the shoulders, and then it sinks in. And our system is designed for that energy to flow out and flow forward. So of course, when we're blocked in the root chakra and all those blocks come up, it's not going to all come out because you're trying to pour something thick. You can't, out of a bottle. You think of a bottle goes through, and then here's the neck. We're the same. So if you have a big chunk of something in there and you're trying to pour, it's never going to come out. And so it affects us. We don't feel seen and heard. It's really hard to express ourselves. And the highest level development of the throat chakra is to express our true purposes, to express our soul's purpose. And so it doesn't happen that way. And you think of, we talked about the overgiving, the people pleasing, and that sort of thing. And that starts in the root chakra. So we're giving and expressing from a wound, and that just helps it grow and grow, grow, and affects the throat chakra. So when it comes time to receive, to truly be seen and heard, we don't have that energy pattern happening. So we need to, all your throat chakra issues begin in the root chakra.
Huh. I love the way you describe that, especially with the bottleneck thing, because I never even thought about that, but you're right. It's our bodies are. It's like, and you always hear about that bottleneck problem.
Yeah.
Everything's getting stuck in there. Now that makes sense the way you described it there. Wow. Okay, so I'm just blown away by that. The way you describe it is perfect. But you got to start doing more with men. That did not sound right. I'm sorry.
No, and let me take that in. I received that. Thank you. I got to start doing more with men. You know what? It's interesting because I think I'm going to. This
Good.
I was listening to one of your podcasts. Sorry, Doctor guy that does the hypnotherapy.
Dr. Albert. Yeah.
Talking about setting goals. Talking about setting goals, and so I'm not setting a goal to work with men. I I've kind of given up on setting goals. And the reason is because we can't know who we're meant to become. We can't know how the divine wants to move through us. We can't know. Just like
Right.
I never expected to be doing this business. Sure, people started asking me, "Can you help me with this? Will you teach me that?" And so I just started responding, and it was a side gig for years that I didn't, fully own. Oh, yeah, I owned it once I started my spiritual and interior design business. But what I'm noticing lately is I'm I'm speaking. I used to primarily just speak on podcasts with women hosts, and I'm
Right.
getting way more men and men who are interested, seriously interested in the work I do. And so men to me, we were talking about the giving and receiving. We all kind of know men are conditioned. We all had the conditioning
Mm-hmm.
provider, but they're also the head of the household, right? And so men are used to in a very different way expressing, doing, you've got to do that, and they often have a lot of pressure. But how well have men been conditioned to receive,
Right.
to fully receive 100%? It's the same issue but a different angle. And I have worked with men, don't get me wrong, I absolutely have worked with men who really want to do the work. And it's yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because I am opening up to it, and if it's meant to be, it's absolutely going to happen.
I think it'd be great. Now, granted, I do know that, more women are open-minded, whereas men aren't. But I think you're starting to see men become more open-minded and receptive to things like this. To be honest with you, I never even heard about any of this before I started doing the podcast. And I'm just, everybody I've had on that where when we talk about this stuff, it's mind blowing. I love it.
Well,
I
and
love it.
I love it that you're part of the trend because I absolutely agree. It is a trend. And what happens is this is how I'll just use you for an example. Never heard any of this kind of stuff before you started doing your podcast. You were guided to do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You responded to the guidance. You're like, okay, I'm not really sure how it's going to look. You may have figured it out in your mind. Okay, it's going to look like this. However, your process went for you, and you're doing this. And remember, I talked about we are all energy,
Right.
and we develop our light. So you're developing more and more of your light as you do your podcast. So you're vibrating at a different level. And what happens is you're receiving from all your guests, and that fuels your light. You're learning and growing, and their light influences your light. And then even when you're in your regular life, you go to the grocery store, wherever you are affecting other people. You're vibrating at a different level. And this is how humanity evolves. And this is where the world
Yeah.
is at right now. And so that trend, sign me up. Sign me up. I would love to be a part of that trend. I have to say, I love men. I've never been a men basher. And part of the reason I love men and I love being around men and groups of men, I grew up with 4 brothers. I was
Oh,
one. I had 4 brothers, no sisters. So I was, and sure, they picked on me when we got to a certain age. They didn't like me.
that's our job.
Oh, man, that was traumatic for me.
it was me, 2 brothers, and 1 sister.
Oh, so you get it. You get it from a different angle. But even in my spiritual interior design business, and I'm doing renovations on people's homes, and so I had, I'd have all my trades there, and I just love being around these guys. Like I love women too, but I just can't step into the feminist role. It's not me. I'm not in alignment. I am in alignment with, we are all humans, and we all have our lessons to learn. And I want to be a part. I am a part. I'm in alignment to humanity evolving, period. All of us.
I love that. I want to talk about the spiritual business coaching that through the programs. Was it Client Magnet?
Yes.
All right. So how do you help spiritual entrepreneurs align energetically to attract clients and not chase them? Because let's face it, a lot of people are chasing them.
Yes, it's true. So that was my second book that I wrote. Not planned again, not at all. I thought I was going to be a one and done kind of author, and that was it. But what happened was, through my throat chakra program, I was started to work with more and more women who were in business, were coaches, smaller businesses. And they may have had clients at one point, but they weren't getting clients. My first 2 that prompted me to write the book, I was like, wow. One of them, she had one group, she did her work, and she was doing everything right. She was working with a very expensive coach, and she just wasn't getting any more clients. And time was going on. Her credit cards were absolutely maxed. Her husband was extremely impatient because she was doing nothing but going into debt and not bringing in any money. And it had been about 10 months. She hadn't had a client. And another woman, she was a functional medicine doctor. And so she had her client base, but she was wanting to get this group up and running. And again, spending a fortune on coaching, doing everything right. It never happened. And for her, it had been about 18 months. And both of them, within 6 or 7 weeks, had their groups formed, everything done, and they were off to the races. And it really served them. So I'm able to see where your blocks are. So we work together. I help you release those blocks and develop your superpowers to help you radiate that energy, which attracts those souls who need you the most.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, Tanya, she was a great Christian, and that woman prayed well. I was like, I'm doing her chakra reading, and I said, do you pray? And there's a certain energy that I see that comes off the top of the heart chakra. It's light, and it goes out at a 45-degree angle. And it's the energy of praying to God. It's devotional, and it's undeniable. I can peg anybody who prays well.
Right.
And I said to her,
wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that part? That prays what?
Well.
Thank you.
Not prayer just in the head.
Yes.
There is a difference.
There's a big difference, and a lot of people don't realize that. Yeah. Thank you.
So she was also very spiritual. Mm-hmm. She wasn't, she was very open. So I could see this energy, and I said, whoa, this is a real superpower of yours. We can use this. And I said to her, and so if any of you out there pray well, please listen to this. When you pray well, and I see that energy that you're in devotion to God or whoever you're praying to that God outside of you. I said to Tanya, start praying to the God inside you. Bring that energy inside, because God is in all of us. God, we are all part of God. We are all aspects of the Creator in a human body. And she turned that energy inward, and it was amazing what happened. Her whole
I bet.
chakra lit up. her solar plexus. She got so much more in touch with her personal truth. So forming her group was a piece of cake. She couldn't believe it. I remember the first client she got, she said, I've been in this mastermind group for over 2 years. For 2 years, I've talked with these people, and she was at one of the events, and she said, I've never really connected with anybody in there. And out of the blue, after she started praying to the God within, this woman messages her in one of the meetings and said, hey, I love what you're talking about here today. Do you want to hop on a call? And so they got on a call, and she became her first client in the next group. And it was just like that. And things just started happening. People just kept finding her. So all
Wow.
the things that she was doing before that weren't working began to work. It's just like that. That's the way it goes. I have my client that I'm still working with. She's in a high-end program.
Mm-hmm.
And she came to me, and the same thing. She was, oh my gosh, this woman was working so hard in her business, had no business whatsoever. And now they're just flowing in. It's all coming. She's getting bigger speaking gigs. She just got a contract to teach at some university.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to do these workshops. And I was just like, around career planning and that sort of thing. I have 2 women right now that just landed these contracts. Anyway, I could go on, but it's about clearing the blocks that are preventing you from radiating all that you truly are. So we work with the light, the wounding, we go deep, and poof, you shift.
I love that. See, and you said you could go on and on. That's how I said, I told you were going to be on several times more. You've spoken about the importance of trusting your own timeline, especially when life falls apart. How did you learn to embrace that? And how can others start doing the same?
Oh man, it's hard. It's hard, but you can start with mindset, because mindset is easier than heart set. All right. Mindset, we're used to being in our minds. We're not as used to being in our hearts. So the first thing to do is look at your situation. How am I meant to grow through this? What is this teaching me? Don't ever ask yourself, why is this happening? It's too vague.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a TED Talk once on procrastination, and the word why does not help us move in a direction.
Mm-mm.
How and what, especially what. What am I here to learn through this? What is this teaching me? And, I've been up against this more than once in my life. And it's the hardest thing to do, is to have that attitude that everything serves us. And then the more difficult questions, what in me attracted this? Oh man, to take full responsibility for our negative life situations, for what we deem as negative, that is hard.
Yeah.
So what happened that I attracted this? What do I need to learn and grow through this? And folks, it's always going back into the root chakra. It's where we always begin when we want to learn something, and we heal that, and it goes up to the other chakras. And so that's starting in the mind and then going into the heart, feeling your emotions, but really going into the root chakra. And you will discover in your subconscious, because I'm going to share with you the 4 most limiting beliefs, the 4 subconscious beliefs that are formed through our early trauma, through our early wounding. And those are, and not in this order, and there's various variations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not enough. I'm unworthy. I don't matter. I'm unlovable.
Mm.
And we can shift all of those. We can shift all of those through this work, and we can rise above absolutely any challenge we're faced with, any trauma, whether it's physical illness. I've had to do that. Whether it's an emotional crisis, the end of a relationship, the end of a career, getting fired, your business failing, whatever, the death of a loved one, we can heal through all of it and become empowered.
Mm. You, you just mentioned something there, death. And I hope I can get through this question without tearing up. Talking about your exercises, you have a beautiful exercise asking yourself, this is strong. What will matter to me on my deathbed? Can you walk us through how you use that to guide major life decisions?
Yes, I would love to answer that, and I kinda wanna know what's going on for you, and maybe I'm asking a very inappropriate question.
It's just that to me, I've never heard of an exercise like that, but it it reminds me of I had another guest on at one time, and he said to draw a line and put a mark on one end, which is when you were born, and then put a mark on the other end, and then put where you think you are right now in the middle, because the other end is your deathbed. And it just you hear a lot of people say they want to leave a legacy. You know, they're afraid. A lot of people are afraid of dying because they don't want to leave something behind. They feel like they haven't done it all. But this exercise is just to me, it's a beautiful exercise. Just to lay there and ask yourself, what will matter to me on my deathbed? I've never thought about that.
Thank you, and I trust you will. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for answering my question. So, when I had that meeting on the beach with my brother, Brian,
Mhm.
his spirit, I ended up reading, the book on death and dying, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and what I realized in that book was so many people just before or when they're on their deathbed, women wish they wore more red and purple.
Really?
Oh, yeah. That they wish they were more bold, wish because they played small. And it's a thing, and she has interviewed thousands of people on their deathbeds. And I was like, "Wow." And so I think a part of, my mom is part of the Red Hats, the Red Hat Society, and
Mm.
they wear purple all the time and red hats. So they're living that. But it's a practice. You can do it at the level of the mind and draw the line, like you said,
Yeah.
but I'm all about going deep. And so through meditation, you can do a similar thing and go back in meditation and review your life because time is an illusion. So we bring everything together at once. You can easily become that person on your deathbed. You're ready to die.
Yeah.
And so you go back in time to when you were first born, even first conceived, and you gain a better understanding of your life. And then you go forward decade by decade, and you go to be on your deathbed and you're looking back over your life. What are your regrets? What do you wish you had done? And it will always lead you to something different. It will always lead you to something different. And it was doing that practice that helped me realize I had to write a book,
Yeah.
leave a legacy, and I had gotten guidance, in other ways as well, and it was so clear. And so when we have big decisions to make, you know, what direction are we meant to go? That sort of thing. You can do this exercise because your soul signed up to learn and grow. You're very in tune with that. You said you love to learn. It's part of
Mhm.
why you do the podcast. So your soul, the center of your being, the connection to the all, came here for specific lessons to grow and evolve through. So when you get to that place, you can gain insight and it'll help with your decisions that you're making today.
Something else you just mentioned there, regrets. And I was like this for the longest time. People say, well, I have no regrets. I have no regrets. And one of the things I learned, believe it or not, from watching a interview with a wrestler, he said anybody that says they don't, everybody's got regrets. The thing is, you need to learn from your regrets. So this question, I'd like to ask you this question. What is one regret that you can share with us that you actually learned from?
So many regrets, but one of my
And that's the way it should be.
yeah, I'm gonna say a huge regret, huge,
Okay.
was that I stayed married to my first husband as long as I did. I remember telling a girlfriend of mine when my daughter was 2 and my son was 4, that I knew I would be leaving my husband because I could see he was an alcoholic, but I couldn't imagine leaving like so many young women. I didn't know how I would make it, and I was scared, and I stayed for 6 more years until they were 8 and 10, and the reason I left, I didn't know what it would look like. I didn't know how I was gonna make it.
Share.
I I saw the damage that was being done to them. I
Yeah.
saw the effects. Not that I was a perfect parent, but I was absolutely more into it than he was, and I was absolutely doing my best. And it's my one big regret. And I've healed a lot around that, but
Yeah.
it was the fact that I stayed as long as I did, because in hindsight, I could see that I would have been fine. I could see that I would have made it because, God, the universe always provides for us, and I was always provided for.
Mm. All right. So now this is your opportunity. Before I get to my last question, which I have no idea what it's going to be, is there anything you would like to add?
Yes, there is one thing I would really like to say, is that you are all powerful beyond what you can currently imagine. You can't imagine the power within you, and I don't mean power over, but divine power, that inner knowing, that true divine expression of who you are, your soul, and what you came here to be. You're all powerful beyond what you can imagine, powerful beyond what you can even currently believe.
Oh, I love that. All right. If you listen to that one episode of Dr. Albert, I can't remember if I did this with him or not. I may not have. All right. So I have 100 different questions here. Don't worry. I'm not going to ask you all 100 of them, but I need you to pick a number between 1 and 100. And as I'm searching for it, tell me why you picked that number. And let's see if you're as good as some of my other guests, because so far, like 90% of the guests, the question they picked has aligned with what we're talking about.
Okay, 67.
So, okay. And why 67?
Good question. It's a number that came to me. I also saw 71.
Okay. This is perfect. 67. I'm going to look at 71 too. Oh, okay. Now we'll stick with 67.
67.
What's a misconception people often have about the field or industry you work in?
Oh, that it's woo, that it's not valid, flaky, um, not they can't trust it.
Mhm.
Spirituality is, it's not based in science, and the wonderful thing is it is now. We've proven so much. We are made of energy.
Right.
So there is that misconception, and I can't tell you, there are some people who are fearful that it's not gonna work for them. Fearful that, sure, it can work for other people, it won't work for me. And so for those people, I offer a money back guarantee. You get 3 full sessions, you get 1/3 of the program. You pay a deposit. And if you are not 100% satisfied, I'll refund your money.
You can't beat that.
That's right, because nobody ever wants their money back. They're like, whoa, it does work for me.
Yeah.
It helps people get in touch with a part of them that they're not necessarily aware of. And even women who've been on a spiritual journey for 40, 50 years, they come to me and they're blown away. They're like, whoa, I had no idea. I helped them go to the next level. So, and all the way from people who've never meditated in their lives, they realize that they know how to, I teach you how to move energy.
Yeah.
You got to become your own energy worker. So yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions out there. And I actually don't like the term woo. I won't speak at an event or do anything that has the word woo, because I don't consider myself woo. This is very practical. It's based in science.
The other thing is too, when people do this, like if somebody comes and sees you or anybody that does what you're doing, the anxiety, the depression is just going to be lifted. It's truly like having a ton of bricks lifted off your shoulders. People don't realize the relief that they're going to have after this.
That's right. And they can't really imagine the result. What they want is they want clarity. People that see me, they're stuck, they're confused, they're uncertain, they don't know their path forward because nothing for them has worked. And then they get that clarity and the level of joy and the life changes. You can't imagine it because you've never been there before.
Mm-hmm. Well, Cheryl, I want to thank you so much. It has been an honor, and I cannot wait to have you back on again. I got ideas running through my brain. That's kind of scary. Look, I'm twirling my finger like there's a hamster on a wheel inside of my head. And I'm going to tell you about them when we're done here. But thank you so much, Cheryl.
Oh, thank you. This has just been such an honor, and I love our connection and what we have going on. And so thank you so much, Rich. Really.
Oh, it's been an honor. Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Conversations with Rich Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something from it as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners and share more incredible stories. Don't forget to connect with us on social media or visit our website at conversationswithrichbennett.com for updates, giveaways, and more. Until next time, take care, be kind, and keep the conversations going. You know, it takes a lot to put a podcast together, and my sponsors help out a lot, but I also have some supporters that actually help me when it comes to the editing software, the hosting, and so forth. There's a lot that goes into putting this together. So I want to thank them. And if you can, please visit their websites, visit their businesses, support them however you can. So please visit the following. Full Circle Boards. Nobody does charcuterie like Full Circle Boards. Visit them at fullcircleboards.com. Sincerely Sawyer Photography. Live in the moment. They'll capture it. Visit them at sincerelysawyer.com.
The Harford County Health Department can help eligible pregnant women and children with low to average incomes get free health insurance through the Maryland Children's Health Program. Call 410-877-1040. That's 410-877-1040.